It can be really difficult trying to teach your dog to stop pulling on their leash by watching a video on YouTube. We have a couple of videos on the channel specific to stopping leash pulling, and they're getting a lot of attention. One thing that I quickly realized is that a lot of you aren't looking at the problem the right way, and if you simply change the way you look at loose leash walking, you'll start giving your dog better information, and you'll start doing training with your dog that'll actually make a difference. Now, I thought a fun way to demonstrate this was by treating this like a grade school science project. So let's get this class started. I'm Ken Steep, and welcome back to McCann Dogs. Here in our training facility, we've helped more than 90,000 dog owners to overcome the same dog training challenges that you have. So if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that I can help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member. It's really common for people to think that the greatest challenge when they're out teaching their dog to walk on a loose leash are some of the other distractions. All of the people and the smells and the sights and maybe other animals that you might encounter out on a walk are difficult to work through. But what I really want you to think about, what I want you to focus on, is how to be that interesting thing, how to be more magnetic to your dog than these other things are. I want your dog to be looking to you for the information. There's actually a couple of really simple ways that you can teach your dog to look to you for that information, how to be more magnetic for your dog, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video today. I'm going to talk about 4 different things that you can use to increase your magnetism to your dog, to give your dog another reason to be more attentive to you and to not want to leave you so much. But to give you a decent visual representation, I went to a local craft store and I bought some board, and I bought all of these varying levels of magnets, different levels of magnetism, and I also bought a wooden plug. And this is where we start with our dogs. We're not magnetic at all. We just happen to be there. In this video, I'm going to show you a few ways that you can be more magnetic, a few different things that you can use to your advantage when you're teaching your dog to walk on leash so that they want to remain with you and not leave you for some of these other distractions in the world. The 4 different tools that I want you to think about when you're teaching your dog to walk on a loose leash around all of these distractions are voice, pace, reward, and timing. So let's take a look at how we can apply these in varying situations to teach your dog to walk on a loose leash. First things first, we need to show our dogs how to be right. What's the easiest way to teach our dogs what the basics of this exercise are, teaching our dogs that being in at our side is worth something. More importantly, we need to be more magnetic than this. Remember, this is where we're starting out. We don't have a lot of value to our dogs. There's no reason for them to stay with us. So we need to begin in an environment where we can be successful. Now you can see in our little home drawing that there's just a couple of distractions, and I wouldn't want to work near those. Maybe it's another family member, maybe it's another pet, or whatever that thing might be. Find an area in your home where you can start to be successful and go from being this to something like this, where there's a little bit more attention. You have a little bit more attention from your dog. That way you can start to work in and around some of these other distractions. And you can see this is a great example. Now, even though I have a little bit more attention from my dog, if I go too close to that distraction, they're still not going to be successful. They're likely to choose that thing over me. So really keep that in mind. You need to build a solid foundation and move from being this to something like this where you can get some more attention from your dog. Then you're ready to increase the challenge a little bit. Here's where things often get very frustrating for people. Maybe you've worked in your home and your dog's really attentive to you. Maybe you're even at a point where working around some of these distractions, your dog won't leave you for them. They'll stay right with you because you are very magnetic in this situation. The moment you step foot outside, things change. Dogs are fairly situational, and they don't generalize well. So when you go into a new environment, your dog's very aware of this situational change. And you go from being even something like this, that's relatively magnetic, back to being this. And this is where you need to start retraining some of those things. The last thing you want to do is take that dog with a very little understanding of this skill of walking on leash and take them into a busy environment like the park, for example, that might have lots of distractions. What you want to do is work on that loose leash walking in short periods, in a not distracting environment, so that you go from being this to something like this, where you have a little bit of attention from your dog and you can move around and have great results, have lots of success in this situation. But to get there, to get to a point where outside your dog isn't attentive at all, to a point where they have, maybe they're a little bit attentive to you or they give you a little bit of attention, you're going to have to start using those 4 tools: voice, timing, reward, and pace. Remember, our goal here is to add tools along the way to be more of an attention getter to your dog so that these other distractions aren't a challenge, so that your dog, all they can think about is you. By simply adding great rewards, you get this. By adding rewards, pace, and your voice, you get this kind of attention from your dog. And this is really how you're going to help them to be successful and allow you to get in those rewards, to reinforce that great behavior when you're out on a walk. Your voice is a tool that you always have with you, and by changing the pitch or the intensity of your voice as you're walking with your dog's naturally going to check in with you. You immediately become a little bit more interesting. So use your voice to your advantage. Next is pace. Now, it's really common for people to be so focused on trying to reward their dog in the right position or make sure that they have a loose leash or keep an eye on what's going on around them that they slow down. And what actually happens is you become a lot less interesting to your dog. Now, all of a sudden, the sights and the smells and the things around, they have a lot more opportunity to get engaged by those things. So rather than passing quickly by a distraction, you're going much more slowly, and your dog naturally is attracted to those things. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to run as you're trying to teach your dog to walk on a loose leash, but you do want to maintain a steady pace. Walk like you're late for something. That way you're going to be more interesting to your dog, and they're less likely to be distracted by those things on the ground. Next is reward, and reward is always a big factor in your dog training. Now, it doesn't have to be food, but specifically, food is a resource that dogs all understand. It's something that they want. It's really nice that it's something that they can get through you. It's also really helpful for rewarding precision, to precisely reward your dog in the right position. And I know on a couple of our other videos, people said, oh, my dog doesn't really like food. We have a video on the channel that'll link in the description to increase the value of food for your dog. But by using the right reward for your dog, if you're struggling with walking on a loose leash, if your dog really likes to pull, then maybe it's time to find something that they really like. You know, instead of using maybe kibble, something that they're not that interested in, maybe you use something like cheese, something that they kind of like, something that they find really attractive. Maybe if you're really struggling, maybe some steak left over from your dinner is the perfect thing to keep your dog attentive on you. Maybe that's the real magnetic factor that's going to help you to maintain some attention. So think about what rewards you're using as you're teaching your dog to walk on a loose leash. Next up is timing, and timing is a critical factor when it comes to teaching your dog to stop pulling on leash. It's the difference between your dog choosing you and your dog choosing that other distraction. It's also the reason that I thought magnets would be a good example to show you. So let's talk about that. Two things I want you to keep in mind as we talk about how magnetic you are is, first is that you don't need to be extremely magnetic for your dog's entire lifetime. It's just while they begin to understand what your expectations are, while you build value on you rather than these other distractions. And what you'll notice is that over time, by being more of an attention getter, more magnetic for your dog, that some of these really challenging magnets become quite simple ones. They become less magnetic, and it allows you to get in much closer over time, and your dog's just less interested in those other things. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is avoid those magnet minefields, things like the park or busy areas. If you have a dog who's still pulling on leash, you really need to isolate some of these distractions as you're doing your training. The last thing you want is to go somewhere that everywhere you turn, your dog sees something that they find irresistible. It's not fair to your dog, and you're going to have a much more frustrating training sessions. So be sure that you're trying to isolate some of these distractions so that you can work on them specifically. It'll allow you to have great timing. The other thing it allows you to do is to find that distance where you can be away with your dog. You can find that distance where your dog's obviously going to start pulling, and work outside of that so you can be more magnetic to them. You can be more of an attention getter than whatever that thing is. The other thing you'll find is by increasing your voice before you get to that zone allows you to get closer. It allows you to go by that distraction with more attention on you. So you're slowly making that distance less and less. You can go closer and closer, and your dog still stays with you. That's why you want to isolate and identify some of these distractions for your dog. As you change some of the tools that you're using, your voice, your reward, your pace, and your timing, you can really start to get closer to these distractions because your dog is much more interested in you. And that's really the goal of this exercise. Now, you're not always going to be really using all your tools to be super magnetic to your dog. It's just not realistic. It's going to be exhausting for both you and the dog. So maybe you're making your way down the sidewalk and you see a distraction coming up. What's important is with using your timing is turning it on before you need it. So really being the attention getter for your dog before you get to a point where they might be distracted. So as you're making your way down, now you start pouring on your voice. You start rewarding them multiple times as you get past this distraction. So it isn't really a distraction at all because you're being so darn magnetic. All your dog can think about is you. And once you've gone by, you can just go back to your regular rewarding every several steps, or just using your voice to maintain some of that attention from your dog until the next distraction comes up. You can probably tell by the quality of my artboard that I don't get out to the craft store very often, but I thought it added some layers to what we've been teaching you here on the channel. If you want to add some layers to your training to help your dog to be more successful, make sure you click that card beside me. It'll help teach your dog to have some leash respect when you're out there working on this skill. Now, if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every week to help you to have a well-behaved, four-legged family member. On that note, I'm Ken. Happy training.